Hi everybody. Today's topic, why self-care is important regardless of age, will offer insights into why devoting time to physical and mental health is important to make life less stressful in the long run. Self-care offers lifetime benefits of becoming more resilient and being less likely to need increasing care or assistance from others as we age. A lifetime of self-care can mean that aging parents will need less care from their adult children or other family members. Passing the idea of self-care down a generation means adult children will need less care from their children or other people in their lives. Self-care really just means that we can be more independent and lead the life of our dreams. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. Please click the thumbs up button, share this channel so that other people looking for hope, help, and support about caregiving, aging, and everything in between can find it. So in this video, we're going to talk about the benefits of self-care activities, but just in case you don't know what self-care is or you think it's this thing that you shouldn't do or you don't need to do, on my podcast called The Caring Generation, search for episode number 43. That podcast will give you plenty of examples of self-care. I'll share a few in this video, but really what I'm talking about is why it's good for you, your health, the health of parents, your children, other family members, everybody that you know. And by the way, if you have aging parents, no matter their age or their health status, share this video with them. Everybody needs a little inspiration and motivation now and then to get started. Because the truth is, while everybody in your family may be perfectly healthy today, health status can change in the blink of an eye, just like that. You or your loved one might be in an unexpected accident tomorrow. Or maybe you go to the doctor and you're diagnosed with a medical condition that can be life-changing. So let me start by giving you a few reasons why self-care, however you define it for yourself, is important. People who make self-care a regular part of life more easily bounce back from all kinds of challenges. Emotional challenges, physical challenges, problems. Everything seems to just run a little more smoothly if you have a self-care routine. A regular self-care routine can make it easier to respond to unexpected health issues because you are already mentally strong, means you know you can do it, and you're physically strong, which means you can more easily recover. Self-care also can support motivation and being proactive and mindful and thorough when you have difficult decisions to make. And things we don't want to talk about, right? It becomes more challenging and more difficult for the body to repair itself as it ages, unless throughout your whole life or for a number of years, you have regularly participated in healthy routines. Because the better and the healthier your body is, if you have a little hiccup here or there, you're going to recover more quickly. Whereas if your body is weak and frail and you get sick, it's going to take much, much longer for you to recover. And if you're a caregiver for aging parents, you probably see this happening with them. Do you want the same to happen to you? So considering all of these factors related to aging is why it's so important to do everything you can do today to look after your health and well-being to minimize potential age-related problems if you want to be healthy and live and lead a fulfilling life. So, where do we begin? Well, you really begin by asking yourself, do you want to just exist in your later years? Do you want to sit in a chair all day and watch TV and do nothing? Some people do, right? Or do you want to lead a full and active life and chase your dreams and have a sense of purpose and be independent and not need care from other people, not have health issues that are going to change your retirement plans? This is a choice everybody can make, but only if you realize it and you take action today to make it happen by paying attention to all these things. Age can truly just be a number on a piece of paper, right? Or it can be something that we're afraid of. Which will you choose? I want to talk about the idea of resilience for a few moments, because self-care contributes to the ability to bounce back, which is resilience, right? Regardless of how old you are. So there are two types of resilience. The first is physical resilience, right? It's the ability of the body, like we talked about, to recover from these little health glitches or even major health glitches that we can work through. Now the second is up here. It's this mental or psychological response to problems and stress and things that we don't want to do. It's the ability to mentally adapt to respond positively to hardships and adversity and experiences of trauma and threats and stress and work and everything that goes on in life. Caregivers and people with health problems benefit from self-care habits to support physical and psychological resilience, to report the ability to bounce back, to better be able to bounce back. And so here's an example, right? How many of you have noticed that two people of the same age can look drastically different in their appearance and in their approach to life, the way they think about life, right? Let's say that there are two 100-year-olds. One is like active and doing things, and the other one is very sick. Or a 60-year-old, right? Two 60-year-olds could be very different. One could be super healthy and one could be super sick. You get to decide which one you want to be through your thoughts and your actions. And so one thing that caregivers do a lot, and we all do this, right? So the effect of stress can make caregivers and people who need care perseverate on worry and negative thoughts and just, catastrophizing about what's going to happen, right? So the word perseverating means that you remember and you get stuck on this thing that happened to you, right, in the past, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 minutes ago, and you just keep repeating and repeating and repeating, and you replay this movie in your mind. So examples are, replaying an argument that you had with a friend or a loved one. Or do you constantly complain about your siblings who don't help care for aging parents? Do you relive the events of a sporting accident or a car accident or some other event that didn't work out as you hoped? Maybe you didn't get a job and you're beating yourself up because you thought you said something wrong in an interview. Or maybe you were auditioning for a play and you didn't get chosen for the role, or just really anything, and you relive that day after day after day. But what it does is it makes that event get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger in your mind. And you get stuck, right? So people who perseverate on these negative events really do get stuck, and they have difficulty moving past future events and circumstances that can happen, right? So you just kind of get stuck. So if you think of it, it's like, those old vinyl records, right? They're on the turntable and there's a scratch, and so the needle just skips and skips and skips and skips because the needle gets stuck in that groove and it can't jump over, right? Well, an uncontrolled brain, an uncontrolled mind, allowed by a person to perseverate and replay and repeat negative events, does the same thing. It keeps you stuck from making progress, from moving ahead, from having a better life. So in a sense, this idea of resilience is a measure of how individuals respond after a stressful event, a negative event, an accident, bad news, good news. It's how we bounce back. Another way to think about this is looking at a 100-year-old house. Whether or not that house was maintained over the 100 years of its life makes a huge difference in its ability to withstand, daily use, wear and tear, components and materials getting old, and the effects of exterior stuff like storms and weather and rodents and shifting ground underneath the house, right? A 100-year-old house can be pretty strong and solid if the people who lived in the house set money aside and did repairs and updated things like, the electrical, the plumbing, air conditioning, heating, roof windows, other interior and exterior features. And so what happens is, if that gets done, right, the cost to maintain that house and the pleasure of living in the house, pretty manageable, right? Not a lot of worries. But if the opposite happens and there's no home maintenance, this 100-year-old house very similar to a 100-year-old body, is probably weak and falling apart due to a lack of attention, and there can be a point where repairing it is just not possible because it's gone too far. Well, the same goes for the body of any age. Will you maintain yours? Or are you going to let it go and advance into an early state of decline or poor health? Research confirms that people who see a physician once a year for a checkup, who get blood work, follow through with tests, medical recommendations, preventative care, will likely be in better physical and mental condition. Now, obviously, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees in life in anything that we do, right? But over time, attention and a personal investment in self-care raises your odds. So do you want a 50% chance or do you want an 80% chance of identifying health issues early before they've gone too far and they result in problems that you cannot reverse? So self-care raises the odds that you'll have a happier, healthier, better life today and in retirement. So the question to pose, right? How much time every day do you devote to self-care? Again, actions like scheduling annual medical checkups, getting your teeth cleaned, all go a long way to raising the odds that the effects of aging will be much less on your body. And let's be honest, these are things most of us don't want to do. We don't want to have to go to the doctor. We don't want to have to get blood work. We don't want to go to the dentist, right? But they're good for us. So choosing to do more things that are good for you and me, even though they might be inconvenient or a little unpleasant or maybe scary, it's good for us. It raises our odds, right? So let's look at self-care and how it can make dealing with stressful situations a little easier. We all have to deal with difficult people, problems within our family, work, at school, neighbor issues, dealing with insurance companies, medical providers, all of that. Super, super stressful, right? And what that does is it distracts our mind. It makes us distracted from things that we want to do. So maybe we put them off, right? Or we can get angry. Blowing up in anger or frustration does not make dealing with difficult people or problems any easier. Although it may feel really good for a second or two, but then you've kind of just created more problems you have to deal with, right? So when difficulties arise, one or two paths, right? You can defend yourself or you can meet the problem head on using self-care coping strategies. These can include being motivated to solve a problem. It can include learning from a situation to make yourself more confident, raise your confidence level. Then it's easier to deal with difficult or frustrating situations because you're like, I've got this, I've done this before, I know how to do this. It's easy, right? So you have to think. Do you want to be defensive or do you want to find the motivation to solve problems? Because that is the difference truly between living in fear and frustration or being motivated and focusing on problem solving and delivering good results. The good news is everybody can learn these habits if you choose. Having a positive mindset, realizing that change does come from within. You're not going to be able to change other people in most cases, and sometimes you can't even change other situations, so you have to be the change that you want to see in your life to move forward from worry and stress and frustration about what might have gone wrong in the past or what might go wrong in the future. The only way you can change that is by being proactive, even though you don't know the outcome, right? You don't know what's going to happen, but if you're positive and motivated, again, the odds of success are higher rather than lower. By managing your thoughts about your worries and your concerns like, unexpected health problems cropping up, or you have to go for a medical test or a treatment, or even how you're going to pay for care, right? By managing these thoughts and worries, you choose how to respond to situations and people. And hopefully you do this with courage and kindness. Never ever underestimate the effect of a kind word or a gesture for yourself or somebody else who might be having a really, really bad day. Because we all know with stress, we get impatient. Negative words and emotions can quickly take over. We can say things that we regret. The world needs more kindness. The world needs more kind people who are interested in helping each other. So learning to shift your attention to positive and useful thoughts and behaviors away from worry and anxiety is a coping skill. Make an effort to move beyond your comfort zone, and you may find that you surprise yourself with what you can do. So let's give an example of that. As a caregiver or a person who needs care, you might feel worried, anxious, isolated, alone, depressed, scared to death, fearful. But you might be surprised to learn that there are a whole lot of people out there in the same situation who feel the same way. So, options. Consider joining an in-person or an online support group. I have one on Facebook. It's called The Caregiving Trap. You can request to join. There you can share your story and your feelings without judgment with people who understand what you're going through. Other coping strategies. Find an activity you enjoy. Schedule time for yourself, whether it's reading, crafting, praying, exercising, meditating, cooking, yard work, going to social groups or events. Meet some new people, because a stressed out brain has got to have time away from focusing on this subject or worry constantly, because what we focus on is what we get more of. So if all you do is worry, all you're going to get is worry. If you think positive thoughts, you're going to get more positive thoughts, and you'll gain some traction and some motivation, right? To end that constant worry about events that may or may not even happen. The beautiful thing about self-care is that you get to define what self-care is for you. It could be fishing, it could be playing golf, maybe a trip to the beauty shop, a massage, spending time with your grandkids, whatever it is, right? It's something that makes you happy and something that makes you feel good. And caveat, it is not harmful to your health, your well-being, or other people. So no violence, no substance or drug abuse, any activity that can harm you or somebody else. That is not self-care. Realize that being a caregiver or a person with health issues does mean losing control of life and having to deal with ongoing uncertainty, which makes it so difficult. That makes self-care necessary regardless of your age. Because if you feel that life is out of control, life will be out of control. If you focus on what you can change in yourself or influence, then again, that goes toward the positive. And even if that seems a little limited, just start doing it. Focus on what you can change, what you can influence, and more things will happen, more positive things will happen. So instead of focusing on all these problems that are right in front of you, find a way to research and identify the bigger picture, the longer term, life 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, so that you can see that there are opportunities out there and there could be so many unexpected blessings. You've probably heard the saying that you can look at life as a glass, half full or half empty. Again, you get to choose your perception, your thoughts. What you focus on is what you get. Now, obviously for all of us, there's going to be situations where we don't have enough information or we feel like we're not equipped to make this decision or make this choice. So what do? You seek help, you do research, you talk to other people in support groups, you ask questions so that you feel like you have enough information to make the best decision that you can. But then realize that even still, if you make a good decision today, something could change and the course of action could change. And you may have to revise the decision that you made, right? So a lot of times we respond to external change, right? It's this, we have to change our behaviors, but things are changing on the outside. And so we're constantly responding to those. But again, that physical and mental resilience, supported by good self-care habits, makes it a little less stressful. So as caregivers, as anybody who eventually is going to have a health problem, coming to terms with the fact that life is going to change, that you may have to deal with some unpleasant situations temporarily to get through them, right? Deal with obstacles. If you accept that, then you can more easily move forward. Now, all of us, right? We're going to come to the point where we realize that controlling something, a situation, a person, it's impossible. The only thing we can control is ourselves and our behavior. So once we get to that point, that can open up a new door because we think, well, I can't change this, but I can change my habits. So this is going to open up a new door, a new beginning. I know what the next steps are that I have to take. I know what the possibilities are. This could be a good thing. The challenge is that caregivers and people needing care face do often mean that one door closes and another one opens. And it's so easy, like that broken record I talked about before, and the idea of perseveration, to struggle with the desire to want things to stay just the way they are, or to be stuck in older familiar ways because it's comfortable, right? But if we do that, and change is going to continue to happen whether we want it to or not, what we do by staying stuck is we eliminate options or possibilities for what might become better choices or a better life. And so I'll give an example on this. Excuse me. So it's similar to an aging parent who resists practical care or the idea of exercising to improve balance or reduce the likelihood of a fall. Parent doesn't want to do this. So they fall and they break a hip. And it's a serious fracture. And that means that they can no longer go live in their home. So we can all choose to live in the past and stay comfortable and resist change that is good for us and face the consequences. Or we can embrace that change and become motivated and become willing to learn and have a better life. So it's the choice between remaining inner focused on the way we think things should be, or the way we want things should be, versus all these exterior circumstances that are changing that, right? So we can either focus inner, stay stuck, focus on exterior, and make changes and make decisions and gain the confidence to keep moving ahead one step at a time. And to do this, just think about, sometime you faced a difficult situation and you responded and it worked out, right? Gain confidence that your choices are going to work out and your decisions are going to work out if you research everything and you know all your options. You can choose to rewrite your story or reframe this current problem to feel optimistic instead of pessimistic. You can reframe your life to imagine a better future so that you make choices and you take actions to do what is necessary. Even though it can seem hard or impossible or you don't think you can do it, give it a try. Life is full of different circumstances. You may have years where your life is pretty stable and everything's going great, and then all of a sudden something crazy happens and you have a year or two of just upheaval and constant change and stress and challenges and trauma, right? But the thing to realize is that everybody, all of us, right, we start from a different place when a struggle begins, when a problem begins. Not everybody has the same coping skills, or not everybody has developed a self-care routine. And so they may be less able to persevere or to bounce back, right? So we have to not judge other people. We have to be kind to ourselves and others as we go through life, because everybody is struggling. Nobody has this life. It's not easy for anybody, right? Everybody has problems, although it may look like on the outside that people are living a great life. So, podcast number 43, identify what self-care means to you. Make self-care a daily priority to grow your physical and your mental resilience so that you can move over these little bumps and these big obstacles and these huge problems. And you can find ways to move ahead and live a better life. And also find ways to help your loved ones learn about self-care and do self-care activities, because the more that you do that in your family, the less your aging parents will need care, the less you will need care from your children or someone else, the less your children will need care from their children. It's a lifelong effort. Self-care is truly a lifelong effort. And you can start today if you make the choice. So I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. Please click the thumbs up button below, follow my videos so that more people can find hope, help, and support. I thank you so much for being here. I will see you all again soon in another video.